Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and master certified life coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today's episode is all about navigating perimenopause and menopause with greater ease and less confusion in midlife. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your master certified coach and midlife mentor, and I'm so glad to be here with you again for this week's episode, which is about navigating perimenopause and menopause with Andrea Donsky. If you're someone who's been confused about your symptoms with everyone's favorite phase of life, perimenopause and menopause, and perhaps you've even been frustrated when you've tried to get clarity, then don't miss this episode. And don't worry, you're not alone, and you're not imagining how difficult it can be to figure out what's going on with you. So buckle up and relax. We're going in, and I know you're going to learn a lot of super helpful information from today's show. So good. Now, just quick, I want to let you know that a regret-proof private coaching spot just opened up, a private coaching spot. And as you know, midlife transformation coaching really is the fastest way to rediscover joy and purpose after 50. So if coaching together privately like this has been on your mind, let's talk about it and see if it's a good fit for you. Head over to my website at susierosenstein.com and click on the private coaching tab and book your free call. Okay, now let's dive in. Today's episode is all about perimenopause and menopause, like navigating it, starting with nutrition and lifestyle. The perimenopause and menopause phase of life can be incredibly strange. Lack of easy-to-access information from reliable sources can be challenging. As an older and wiser woman, it's surprising how difficult it can be to navigate all of the confusion, and this show will help. My guest today is Andrea Donsky. Known as the menopause educator and researcher to her nearly 350,000 TikTok followers, Andrea is a nutritionist on a mission to change the conversation around perimenopause and menopause. Andrea is a 4-time published menopause researcher and entrepreneur with 25 years experience in the health and wellness space. She's also a respected multi-award-winning influencer, media personality, speaker, author, and consultant. Andrea hosts the podcast Menopause Reimagined and appears as a menopause expert on television and podcasts across North America. To date, she's appeared in over 500 TV segments and has been featured on every major network across the U.S. and Canada. Andrea is also a dynamic public speaker who captivates audiences by sharing her expertise with authenticity and passion. You're gonna really appreciate what she knows and how she talks about it. Her latest venture, wearemorphous.com, helps women to reimagine menopause as a journey of empowerment so they feel heard, supported, and validated. Morphous empowers women to take control of their symptoms and health with nutrition, lifestyle, research, and science-backed supplements. Andrea is currently writing a book on menopause, which will be published in spring of 2026 by Simon & Schuster. Don't miss this episode if you want to feel better and bring some clarity and confidence to your perimenopause and menopause journey. Please enjoy this interview. Oh, and one more thing. As always, please remember the information shared in this podcast is intended for your convenience, entertainment, and education, and isn't geared to your personal situation. It's not a replacement for care or advice from your own medical professional. So you may have some things you want to follow up on, so please seek a suitable professional to advise you on your personal situation. Hi, Andrea. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Women in the Middle podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Me too. You know, what's so great is when you've been around as Women in the Middle, we've been around. We knew each other a long time ago, and I hadn't really been in touch lately. And I started to see you and your amazing posts on LinkedIn. And I'm like, why isn't Andrea on my podcast?
I love that. Well, I was so happy when you reached out to me. So I'm really, really looking forward to this.
Now, what's so great about you? There are so many things. One of them is you know so much about nutrition and menopause and all the things, but you also have a personal story about your journey to finding and acknowledging this passion. So let's start there. What was going on for you in the last 10, 15, 20 years that brought you to focus on navigating perimenopause and menopause?
Yes. So thank you for that. So everything that I've done in my career has always been around either personal passion or something that it's a phase that I've been going through in my life. So when we started my first company, so I have the same business partner, same female business partner for 25 years. So when we started our first company, we just got married. We were having, we were buying houses and we needed to save money. So we started our coupon book. It was called the Healthy Shopper Coupon Book. And then we started having kids, and then we started Naturally Savvy. And then when I started having hot flashes and night sweats and all of these symptoms that I didn't know what was happening to my body, and then finally realized that it was perimenopause and menopause, we started our third company, which is called Morphus. So it really happened because of personal experience. And I'm best first of all, I'm a very passionate person. And when I do anything, I want to make sure it comes from this place of authenticity. And that's why her name is Randy, my business partner. When I approached Randy back in like 2017 or 2018, I was like, you know what? I think we should go into, start talking about menopause because nobody's talking about it. And at that point, it was people were talking about it, but it wasn't like it is today. And she was like, okay, let's do it. Let's pivot. So we were very good at pivoting, knowing when we've kind of done our thing and we're ready to move on to something else. And that's when we started Morphus. So we started it in 2021.
Now, I don't want to gloss over the pivot because around here are Women in the Middle. I am really, really interested in the pivot. I know we're all thinking about Friends right now. Pivot with the couch in the stairwell. It was so funny.
Yep.
But, making a big decision like that and having to make it together is a big deal. Now, when I think of making a big decision, I struggle with some fear because nothing's certain in the world. There's always uncertainty. And I'm just wondering, when you glossed over it like that and it seemed like, oh, no big deal. We're making a decision. We're pivoting. Boom. What is it about the way you make decisions? Do you trust your intuition? Do you have an abnormal amount of confidence?
That is such a good question. Everybody's always working on certain things, right? Like certain things come really easily to us on some things, and then other things we have to work a little harder, or maybe they don't come as easily. Pivoting and transition has always been something that has come very easily to me. I don't really think about it too much. And I'll give you an example. When we started our first company, it was called the Healthy Shopper Coupon Book. We started it in the year 2000. And when we first launched the coupon book, we kind of like, do you remember the entertainment book where so it was kind of modeled after the entertainment book where you had like tons of different coupons inside it, and you would sell the book for whatever amount of money. And then you would make your money back that way from the consumer end of it. So when we launched like that. We launched an Ontario version and we launched a BC version. And then when we went out to sell it, it didn't sell. The consumers didn't want to buy a book full of coupons. So we pivoted. So we're like, okay, year 2, let's change our entire concept. We love the idea of what we're doing is a coupon book for natural and organic products. And we're like, we love the idea of it, but let's just change how we're actually distributing it. So we went to sponsors and we had companies pay us to be in the coupon book, and we gave it for free to the consumer. So it was just something that I think naturally, it wasn't working. We're like, okay, how do we change this? How do we pivot to another thing? We love the concept, but how do we pivot to something else that is still just as good? It's just a different way of doing it. So I think it was just something that comes naturally to us in terms of like, okay, this doesn't work. Let's do this. Or when I decided to leave the company, both Randy and I, like we had worked at big companies. I decided to leave a big company, a great paying job, to go and start my own business. It was like I was choosing happiness. I was choosing joy. I was choosing a path that I wanted to do. So I decided to leave what I was doing to do that. And I didn't really overthink it. I kind of just did it. And it's kind of been what I've been doing for the last 25 years, but not making decisions, so rashly that it would actually be detrimental. I'm talking about making smart decisions, but not overthinking it to the point where it becomes, analysis becomes paralysis.
I love this, but what you're really talking about is a trust in your problem-solving capability, which I love, and also this ability to lean into desire and trust that without overthinking. And overthinking gets a lot of us stuck.
Yeah. And there's other places where I'm not as, it doesn't come as easily to me, right? So that's why I was saying like, so many of us all of us have different things that come easily and things that don't. So in this respect, I would say, yeah, it's definitely a trust in myself, a trust in the universe, a trust in my partner, in Randy, a trust in everything that's around us, that it's all going to work out and everything is meant to be and everything happens the way it should happen. So I think that, yeah, I just kind of go with what feels right and at the time that we're doing it. And it served us very well.
Wow, it does. Like having a thought it's going to work out is so powerful. Of course it leads you to the ability to make a decision. If it's coming from, it's going to work out. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and it's so true. And even recently, I've been looking at a lot of, obviously on social media, and what's, I don't know if you talk about manifestation or you talk about, certain things on your show, spirituality. I think you mentioned.
I have guests who do.
Okay. So one of the things that recently has come up is more of like that trust feeling, but then seeing it, feeling it, right? And knowing it. So at the time when we would pivot, I didn't really think too much about it, or I don't even know if I really felt it. I just knew intuitively deep down that it was something that I wanted to do because I wanted to learn myself. Like I wanted to know about menopause. I didn't know anything about it. And I was in the health space for 17 years at that point. And it was my job to help people understand what they're putting in and on their body. I wrote a book called Unjunk Your Junk Food back in 2011. Like this was what I did for a living, but yet I knew so little about a phase of life that more than 50% of us will go through, 51% of us will go through if we're blessed to live long enough. Yet I knew zilch, nothing. My mom never talked to me about it. My grandmother never did. My doctor never mentioned it to me. Like I never learned about it in school. Like it was like, I kind of feel like it was this surprise that kind of hit me really because I had had all these symptoms, yet I didn't know what was wrong with myself. And that's when I was like, no, we need to help other women. We need to educate other women because I don't want other women to go through what I went through.
Exactly. It's so weird to be able to study and get ready for other big things that are happening, like getting ready to breastfeed when you're pregnant, or even just understanding how to manage your pregnancy, or getting ready to go to university, or even when your kids go to university. But it is weird to be in a space and have a big giant gap. And it's such a common gap. There's so many of us that didn't know enough about menopause for a variety of reasons. Now that you've been in the space, why do you think there is such a gap?
Well, for exactly the reasons I was sharing is that we don't learn about it. The lack of education when it comes to perimenopause and menopause is astounding to me. Now it's nice to see that we're talking about it more because I say like Gen Xers, we're not going into this phase lightly. We are screaming it from the rooftops. A lot of us, not all of us, but we're talking about it much more openly now. And I feel that when things change, because we don't learn about it in school, like if we were able to teach it at the elementary stage or even the high school stage, like when I started doing this work and I looked at my daughter's curriculum, she was in grade 5, this was a few years ago, and they're teaching about puberty. They have a whole thing on puberty, but nothing about perimenopause and menopause. And when I spoke to one of her teachers about it, they're like, well, why should we learn about it? It's something so far away from them. But I'm like, we need to understand what's happening to our body. We understand we're going to go through puberty. And I know that's more imminent for these girls and boys. But the thing is that it's going to happen to all of us should we be blessed to live long enough. And then imagine, Susie, this is something I think about all the time. And if I had this dream, I'd be like, we need to have this curriculum in high schools, because imagine you have moms going through perimenopause and menopause while they're teenagers or being teenagers. And the amount of relationship saving that we could possibly have, like even if you scroll on social media and you see there's a lot of funny videos around kids whose like moms are like yelling at them. I mean, they're making a joke of it, right? Where the mom's yelling at them or she's going off the edge and they're just kind of like, oh, like what's going on? But yet the truth is that if they understood what their mom was going for and we gave them the vocabulary to be like, mom, could you be in perimenopause or menopause, or mom, like, or even had scripts on how to speak to them. Imagine the relationships that would be improved from their moms and their kids, and even moms and their like partners, right? Like to women and their partners, if we had the vocabulary and the understanding of what we were going through.
It was so weird for me to be clueless about that moody stuff. Like I had this anger that came over me twice. I remember both of these times so specifically, and it felt like an out of body experience. And I remember when I was talking to my doctor and she's like, well, let's check your hormones. You might be in perimenopause. And I'm like, what? Like I had never was moody when I had my period all those years. And I personally was so shocked that was related to something going on with menopause, perimenopause. I was floored. And then also I felt kind of stupid. Like here I am, smart. I know how to look stuff up. I'm a very curious person. come from a family of all women. Why don't I know this stuff? Well, most of us don't know this stuff. It's so true.
Yeah, and you're not stupid at all. You don't know what you don't know, and now we know a lot more now, and because it's spoken about, it's not hush hush. I mean, think about, like, if I look at my grandmother never talked about menopause or perimenopause to my mom, or nor to me. And then my mom, when she went through it, she didn't speak to me about it either. My mom had a hysterectomy. I remember she had a hysterectomy. I was probably in my late teens, but she never talked to me about it. I didn't even really understand what that meant. I didn't understand, like, I knew nothing. And when I look back now and doing the work that I do now, and when I talk to my mom, I'm like, why didn't you? She's like, you know what? I didn't talk to anybody about it. I talked to maybe my doctor about it. It was more of a shameful thing. There was a stigma around it. So we're trying to really get rid of that stigma, to be like, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to talk about menopause and perimenopause, because when we talk about it, we normalize it. And then when we normalize it, it becomes no big deal. I mean, think about what millennials have done to period, right? And having your cycle and period shame. I look at my daughters. So I have a 14 and a 20-year-old daughter. I have a son as well who's 21. And they talk about their cycles with their, like, the guys when they're together with their friends. Like, it is no big deal. Like, it's nothing. They're like, oh yeah, I have my period today. And like the boys are like, oh, okay. Like, it's so not a shameful thing. That's what our goal is for us Gen Xers, to talk about menopause and perimenopause, to get to the point where, like, yeah, it's no big deal. Right?
Wow.
It's something we're all going to go through. So
yeah, that's for sure. Well, one of the things also that I love to talk about on the podcast is how you end up where you end up without really seeing necessarily that all the steps are related. So, so many women our age come to me and they say, well, I don't even know what I want. I don't even know what I want. And I'm like, well, really, all you have to figure out is the next best step that makes sense. And then when you look back over your life, you start to see that the steps all make sense. Now, I only knew you since you were in the nutrition space, but think about the importance of nutrition and your inquisitive mind on sharing quality information with people who need it. Think about how all of that has led you here, especially with your research interest.
yeah, I mean, definitely the journey has been one thing. Like, you're right. One thing has led to the next. I mean, when I was out of school, I worked for this coupon company, and then I started my own coupon book for 18 years, right? And then that led me to, like, being super right into nutrition. And my dad, like, that's a whole other story in terms of how we were raised. My mom was very nutritious conscious when we were growing up. My dad was the opposite. I mean, he just would, like, sneak his junk food everywhere. And I remember, like, I'd be like, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to sneak my junk food everywhere, and I don't want to eat salads at every meal. And then what happened was I started getting stomach issues in my late 20s. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I need to now focus on nutrition, right? So, like, everything happens for a reason and kind of leads you down that road. And yeah, I am happiest when I'm learning. And that, I mean, I remember in university, I used to say to myself, like, had I been really amazing at math, I would have been in, like, either a scientist, or I would have been in, like, something data, or I would have been in, like, I don't know, marketing research. Like, I would have done something in mathematics. But because math wasn't my, like, strongest suit, let's say, but being inquisitive is, and asking a lot of questions is, I ended up doing research in another way. I ended up now doing community research. I ended up doing research where we're asking all these incredible women in our community about their experience. So now I am so proud to say I am a 4-time published menopause researcher. I'll be a 5th one at the end of this year, and possibly even more. So it's very exciting. And you are so right. Everything happens for a reason. Everything kind of leads us down that journey and takes us to where we need to go.
Exactly. And one of the things that stands out on your website is the research, and the way that you're incorporating the research into the tips and solutions for women suffering with menopause and perimenopause symptoms. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So back in 2022, we launched our very first survey, which is called the Signs and Symptoms of Menopause. So if you actually Google, or if you search now with AI, like wherever you're searching for information, and you look at menopause symptoms, you'll always see something that comes back that says, here are the 34 most recognized symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. So that's old data. The newer data is that when we launched our survey in 2022, we now have, so 3 years later, we now have over 5,200 responses to that first survey that we did. 5,200 responses. So our data is robust. And we now know that there are 103 plus symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. So that is in a medical journal. We were published for that in December. The only other time a quantifiable number of symptoms was published was in the 70s. So that's really exciting that we actually know now how many symptoms there are, and there's more, the 103 plus, right? But at least we now know that there's a certain, there are symptoms that are associated with perimenopause and menopause. It doesn't mean everything is. It means that here we have a starting point. Go to your doctor, go to your healthcare provider, let them know what you're going through. Let them know that there's this new list of symptoms, and have them help you with tests and solutions and treatment options that could possibly be due to perimenopause and menopause. Rule everything else out. And if everything comes back as, nope, you're good, then you can look at the option of perhaps it's a perimenopause or menopause symptom. And that's what happened to me. Like when I was in my mid 30s, I was 36. I was having something called phantom smells. I know what they are now. I didn't know what they were then. And I was smelling smoke. And I went to my doctor several times. I'm like, I'm smelling smoke. And if you looked it up at that time, it's like, you're like, oh, that's not, you don't want to be smelling smoke. But they're like, she sent me to an ENT. I went and got, MRIs. Like I had everything checked out, and it came back saying, we don't know what's wrong with you. Like you don't have allergies. We're not sure what it is. Looking back now, I'm like, oh, it was phantom smells, because that's when you smell things that other people don't. It's a very common symptom of perimenopause and menopause. Had we known that back when I was 36, it would have been a different ball game, because that's like almost, 20 years ago, it would have been like, oh, perimenopause. Okay, well, maybe I need to look into possibly hormones or possibly supplements or changing my nutrition and my lifestyle or managing my stress. Like it would have been a very different, it would have been very different for me had I actually known what was happening to my body. But instead, I went through perimenopause for a total of 14 years, 11 of which I had no idea what was happening to my body. I thought I was going crazy. I thought I was the only one going through it. I would ask people around me if they were having symptoms of certain things. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. So it was a very lonely, frustrating existence for those 11 years, until I finally realized, perimenopause and menopause. So now that's why, again, I'm going to keep repeating myself. I'm so passionate about helping other people, other women understand, and men. We just launched a men's survey, actually, interestingly enough, to understand this phase of life so that we can help people.
That's amazing. What were some of the other surprising findings from your list?
From the symptoms list, I would say, okay, so definitely itchy ears is another one. So a lot of people have itchy ears. Now, again, it could be so many different things, but if everything else comes back that it's nothing, and you get that clear, you get the clearance from your doctor, I would say itchy ears is one, because when estrogen starts to fall, estrogen keeps your skin moist and plump. And when it starts to fall, things start to dry out, including the mucous membranes in your ears. So I would say itchy ears is a big one. Vertigo, tinnitus, those are big ones that are tied to it. Frozen shoulder, I had it for a year. I had no idea it was perimenopause or menopause related. Frozen shoulder, burning mouth, burning tongue, dry eyes, watery eyes. These are things, electric shocks. You might feel like if you kind of move your neck the wrong way, you get this like weird electric sensation. Bugs crawling on you. A lot of women will say they feel like there's like bugs or ants crawling on their skin. That's another one. So There's so many symptoms that you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was connected to perimenopause or menopause.
Wow, that is fascinating. How interesting that you even thought to do that research.
It's the way my brain works. So I was at a party with my husband, and I met an old friend, and we were catching up, and I asked her what she was doing, and she's like, oh, I'm creating an app for menopause symptoms. I'm like, don't you need a lot of symptoms to have an app? Like, I'm thinking an app, you need like a lot of symptoms. She's like, no, Andrea, there's like 34 to 40 symptoms. I'm like, oh, okay, like that's a lot. So the way my brain works is I went home, I started creating this document because I love data, and I started looking at all these symptoms. But really quickly, I found out that there were way more than 34 to 40. At that point, I was like, wait, there's like 85 plus symptoms. So I was like, you know what? This is great that I'm getting my information from so many different sources, but why don't we ask our community what they're experiencing? And that's how we decided to launch the survey.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so I think if you're a listener right now, you're thinking about, gee, I would like some tips. So can you share some of your best tips for navigating this change?
Yeah, so my lane is nutrition, lifestyle, supplements, and research. So that's what I stick to. But there's also the option of hormones if that's something you choose to do. There are so many great doctors and creators and experts who talk about hormones. On our podcast, I've interviewed several of them for when it comes to hormones. Because it's out of my lane, I like to interview people whose lane it is in. But let's talk about nutrition, lifestyle, and supplements, because that's what I'm an expert in. So I would say nutrition is the foundation of everything. Like, I was just having a conversation with somebody yesterday at the gym, and she was telling me how her body is aching her. Now, achiness and body aches, joint pain is very common. And it's within joint pain is within the top 10 most common symptoms, and very common symptoms because we're more prone to inflammation, and inflammation can lead to pain. And so I would say start with your diet, because if you're looking at an anti-inflammatory diet, that can really help with alleviating a lot of the pain. It may not take it all away, but it can help to reduce that inflammation that can help to improve the pain. So I would say looking at search anti-inflammatory foods, focusing on protein. We need more protein in this phase of life. So looking at least if you're less than 140 pounds, you want about 20 to 25 grams of protein per meal. If you're 140 plus pounds, then you want about 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. That's base. Then you need to add according to how active you are, how tall you are, different things that come into play. Then I would say look at getting enough fiber. Really important. You want that 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day. You want to make sure that you're eating the rainbow, lots of different vegetables, low glycemic fruits like berries are amazing. Green apples or sour apples are really good. You want to make sure that you are really looking at the fat that you're ingesting. So what I mean by that is we need fat. So don't limit your fat. We want your fat, but be smart about the fat that you're choosing. So you want to be mindful of not ingesting trans fats. You want to be mindful of saturated fats they're not as bad as we once thought they were. But again, everything in moderation, right? So choosing good quality fats like olive oil, olives, avocado oil, coconut oil, ghee, tallow, grass-fed butter. These are fats that our body knows how to process. And then we also want to make sure that we're getting our fruits, like I said, our low glycemic fruits, and then our complex carbohydrates, our nuts and seeds, and our legumes in more moderation. So everybody's really different. Some of us can have more, some of us can have less, but knowing that that's something that we can add into our diet, again, according to what your needs are, and making sure you're hydrated. Really important. So aiming for half your weight in ounces is crucial because we're more prone to dryness, obviously, but also, it helps with going to the bathroom. It helps with brain health. It helps with moving things along the colon. Like, it's so important for so many different things. Gives you energy, etc. So that's kind of the nutrition part of it.
And what else can you share?
And then when it comes to lifestyle, really important that we are managing our stress. So we have another study that was published called our stress and anxiety survey, which was our mental health survey. And we know that 66% of us are more stressed now than we were before, and we're less able to cope with it. And it's so I and as much as I could say, like, yeah, make sure you manage your stress. Sure, Andrea, like, that's super easy. Not. So it's really important. And I'm real about this because as much as I'm like, let's manage our stress, it is really something that I need to work at myself. I'm not great at it, but it's something that I have to incorporate into my daily routine in order to be mindful of it. So things like walking in nature, things like exercise. One of the things that is so funny, the number one way that the women on our survey said that they manage stress is by watching a funny movie or show. So I thought that was great, right? At the end of the day, maybe watching a funny show or something that makes you laugh. We know that's great for our immune system. And then walks in nature, like I said, maybe putting down boundaries, saying no. No is a full sentence. I just heard Jane Fonda talk about that recently. Surrounding yourself with people that you love. Limiting people that perhaps you don't. Maybe it's turning off the news, whatever it is, limiting your social media, whatever it is that helps you to balance that stress is really key.
One of the things that I really have been doing more and more of that really helps is intentional music listening. It's pretty guaranteed if you put on some of your favorite music. And I go to my old style CDs. I almost
Madonna?
For me, it's not Madonna. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's Mel Torme and Frank Sinatra. Those are my guys. But there's a few songs that are just so, I know I'm going to smile. They make me feel good. And it's perfect. And then the other thing is more creativity in my life. And I leave things out really close to me. I do mindful doodling with Zentangle, and I've been working on just doing some painting with watercolor, nothing fancy. I keep it small and simple. I use an art like a journal. And I'm just doing it more and more, and it really calms me down. I find it so great for focus and relaxing.
I love that. I think anything that's going to help you bring you from your sympathetic nervous system to your kind of go in that nice balance between that and your parasympathetic nervous system, which is known as rest and digest, that to me is incredible. So whatever works for you, I love that. And I love that tip. And I think that's great.
Oh, awesome. Wow. Andrea approved.
I actually love doodling too. So I get you. And being creative is so great, right?
It's
Because it
so
just
great.
opens up your mind.
And so many women just right away have a label for themselves that they're not creative because they're only thinking about it as being artistic. And I always think about this podcast, Women in the Middle, being one of the most creative things I've ever done in my life.
Totally. Yeah. And creativity comes in many forms. So
Cooking is
I agree.
creative, just making
Yes.
anything, creating anything is a creative endeavor.
Exactly.
So what would you say to somebody who just feels like they're at their wits' end? They are having all these weird symptoms. Maybe they're suspicious it's menopause. Maybe they're clueless. But would you say would you try to do some things before you went to get professional advice, or would you just go to get some advice? Just start with the advice.
I think that it's probably twofold. Like, I do believe we need to take responsibility for our own health and for what we're doing. And then obviously you want to get things checked out, and perhaps there's your healthcare provider or people that you could turn to that has knowledge about this phase of life. So starting with taking responsibility is definitely looking at your nutrition, look at your lifestyle, maybe adding in certain supplements that we have and we can talk about that in a minute. Like, I have foundational supplements that I believe every woman over the age of 40 should be looking at taking. And then I would say, come up with a list of questions, come up with some, do some of your own research, because there's so much available now online that you could find. And then come up with your list of questions, and then go to your doctor or healthcare provider and seek someone at the same time. It could be a conventional medical doctor, it can be an integrative, it can be both. Like, go seek expert advice, because there are people who know a lot about this phase of life who can help you with solutions and treatment options. So I would say it's probably a mix of both, but starting with yourself, because you want to have the power. Like, my whole thing is empowering you and your listeners to understand what's happening to your body, because when you understand, that's when you can make the magic happen. That's when you can be like, okay, here's what I want. Like, I've heard from many women who have gone to their healthcare providers, and the healthcare providers have dismissed them. Like, we have a survey called our Doctor's Visit Survey, where we know, according to over, I think it's 1,100, 1,300 responses, over 1,000 responses, where we know 40% of the women are dismissed when they go to their doctor or healthcare provider.
40%?
So 40%. And most women have to go see their doctor between 2 and 5 plus times until they make the connection between how they're feeling and it being perimenopause and menopause. So this is why it's so important that I want you to be empowered. And I have the full list on our website of all the symptoms. We have a PDF if you want. I'm happy to give you a link that you can post in the show notes, where women could go take this list, tick it off, and be like, here are my symptoms, here's what I'm feeling, and then discuss what those treatment options are with your healthcare provider. But at the end of the day, I'm a true believer that if you go the hormones route, that's one thing that's amazing. However, you can also do nutrition, lifestyle, and supplements, right? So everything can be used synergistically. And I do believe we need to start with nutrition and lifestyle, and then adding in the supplements that you need. Those are the foundation, because that's going to help us feel so much better and help to empower ourselves to understand what we're putting in on our body, so that we could feel better and that we can help manage it. Like, so for example, if let's say, I'll give you an example for me. If I'm stressed, so stress if let's say there's a stressful episode that happens, I know that my blood sugar will be affected. I know that it generally can give me a hot flash, right? So like, there are certain things that it can trigger that are related to those perimenopause and menopause symptoms. It can make them worse. It can exacerbate them. Or trigger them. So you just want to be mindful of these things. And that's why having some type of core foundation is important, so that you can help to minimize those occurrences.
Got it. Now, you did mention something about supplements. That's something I really know so little about. Tell us what you think is the most important thing to look at.
Sure. So as a nutritionist, like I said, nutrition number one. You can't out supplement good nutrition. But I do believe that we need, because our soil is depleted of so many nutrients nowadays, because our body changes, so our digestive system shifts and changes as we go into perimenopause and menopause. And we may not absorb as much as, as many nutrients as we did before. So I feel like there are certain supplements that we absolutely need to look at. And then there are ones that I say, let's add these in based on what your symptoms are. So what are the core, the foundation? Foundations are magnesium. It is an absolute must. So my favorite is magnesium bisglycinate or glycinate, because I look at it as the hero with the red cape on it. It's great for so many different things, especially for helping with stress and coping with stress, which is a big one. And it's incredible for sleep because it's attached to the amino acid called glycine, which helps us to relax. So magnesium bisglycinate, my favorite, and making sure you're getting enough of it. So the recommended daily intake is, I think, 320 milligrams for women. But remember, you're not absorbing all of that. So if you're eating it with your food, amazing, taking it as a supplement, amazing, and you can increase that a little bit according to what your needs are. Then I say omega-3s, because those are important for the dry eyes, the dry mouth, the itchy ears, the dry skin. It helps to hydrate you from the inside out. Omega-3s have an incredible research on it. It's also really good for brain hair, heart health, skin health. Like, it's good for so many different things. So I prefer a good quality fish oil, but there's also vegan sources like an algal oil, which is great too, but you want to really look for those omega-3s. And then the other thing would be a good fiber product, because, and this is why we launched our product line, was because I was like, I wanted the best quality supplements for me to take. So I'm like, I'm just going to make it myself. Like, I'm just going to have it my own product line. So we've got, fiber, which we have our Fiber Us, really important. You want to make sure you're getting that 25 to 35 grams a day, like I said, to help move that digestive system and get rid of the things that your body no longer needs, right? It just helps. It's important to keep regular. You want to make sure that you are pooping at least once a day, very important. And then you've got other things like you want to support your digestive system. So maybe that's looking at short chain fatty acids, or maybe it's looking at digestive enzymes or bitters, something that's going to help you digest your food well. You want to look at a vitamin D with a K2 MK7. So important for our bone health and immunity and our mood, really key. And then you can also look at something like a melatonin. I'm a massive fan of melatonin because as we go into menopause and we're in our 50s and beyond, we actually don't make as much of our own melatonin. So getting it externally is really helpful. And melatonin isn't only incredible for sleep, but it's incredible for so many other things too. It's an antioxidant. Like, it has so many incredible benefits other than just sleep. But because we know sleep is the third most common symptom of perimenopause and menopause, it's something that I know probably many of your listeners are experiencing right now. And the top three reasons we're not sleeping, again, according to our published research, number one is stress. There we go again, right? Stress, how it comes back in. Number two is bathroom visits. So you might be getting up every hour on the hour, or maybe and if you're waking up more than once a night to go to the bathroom to pee, then that's something that you definitely want to work on. And then number three is night sweats. So it's really important that we get a good handle on our sleep. So the way we can do that is like with our magnesium, like I mentioned, but also we have a product called Sleep Us, which I formulated, that has melatonin in it. It has our magnesium in it. It has something called lactium, which helps with the bathroom visits as well as stress. And it has something called L-theanine, which helps to calm the mind again with stress. So taking our Sleep Us with our magnesium is a game changer. It's awesome. It's what I take every night and to help me sleep. So those are just some examples of some supplements that you may want to consider. And then there's other ones as well. Like, should you have specific symptoms, or maybe you have certain goals that you want to reach, like our Toco-E has its tocotrienols. Tocotrienols are an incredible antioxidant, great for brain health, great for heart health, great for skin health, right? So it just depends what you're looking for, and then kind of tailoring your supplement regimen to that. But don't overdo it. Don't take a million different things. I like to really encourage women to understand why they're taking certain supplements, and certain supplements, why they're beneficial for them in this phase of life. Because you might have taken things before, but right now you may not need it, right? So you want to understand how it helps your body now that you're in perimenopause and menopause. And that's what my goal is, to help women understand.
Yeah, that is key. But I do have a very important question. Do you have a strategy or a tip to help my dog sleep through the night? Because he's good with our sleep.
You know what? I don't, but I don't really. Maybe I don't actually.
We're trying
sleeps.
to feed him. We're trying to feed him earlier.
That's not my area of expertise, so I don't want to say something that I'm not an expert in that. But my dog sleeps, so I haven't really looked into that. So I'm sorry, I don't.
Well, as soon as your dog has a problem, then I know we'll all get a solution and a survey.
There you go, exactly.
Amazing. Well, how can people get a hold of you? You have so much great information.
Thank you. So you can find me on my website, which is We Are Morphus, MORPHUS. So it's like we named our company Morphus. So it's Metamorphosis, Morph Us as a community. So it's Morph Us. So wearemorphus.com. And then we have all of our supplements there. We have our research surveys there. So if your community can fill out the research surveys, I would be so grateful. We've got 14 surveys on our website right now, 5 of which have been published. They're all ongoing. We just launched a headaches and migraine one. We launched a menopause and PCOS one. We launched a men's perspective of menopause one. So that is the only one we have for men. The rest of them are all for the women going through perimenopause and menopause. And then we're going to be launching a pelvic health one soon. So we're constantly doing research. So you can find that on our website right at the top under research, and it'll say research surveys. And then I'm on social media at Andrea Donsky on TikTok. I live on TikTok. But I'm also on Instagram, and We Are Morphus as well on Instagram, and pretty much anywhere you are on social media.
Amazing. And of course, I'll have all this stuff in the show notes. And I also know that you have a PDF that's available of blood work that our listeners can ask their doctors for when they're in perimenopause. So we've got a link for that too.
Amazing. Yes, we definitely do. And it's so great. Again, and we can also, if you'd like, I can also give you the PDF of the symptoms so they can tick off what those symptoms are and bring that to their doctor as well.
Amazing. Oh, I love stuff like that. Andrea, what a wealth of information. Thank you so much for following your heart and trusting yourself and navigating yourself into this space where you can provide such high quality information and perspective, nutritional advice, all of it for women that really need it. We really need this help right now. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, that's it for this episode. Tell me, did your head explode with menopause clarity goodness? Are you ready to make an appointment with your healthcare provider armed with Andrea's helpful handout about tests to ask about? For sure, you are not alone if you've been confused about what's been going on with you during this phase of life. And now you have more to think about, more tips, and solid-backed research information to consider and explore. When it comes to perimenopause and menopause, there are so many questions. I hope you feel more equipped to ask great questions and get great answers. Things that work for you. Okay, let's wrap things up. Remember, if you aren't intentional with stuff like this, like so much of the stuff we talk about here on the podcast, time will just fly by and you're highly likely to have regrets. You may know that I can help you stop living like time doesn't matter because, my friend, it does. So if you're ready to step on the gas and make changes that are important to you, coaching together might be a good idea. This is exactly how I can help you as your midlife coach. It starts with your thinking, and this is what we're up to in my Women in the Middle Academy. So if you'd like to see if working together is a good fit, head over to www.talktosusie.com and book your free momentum call. This is the best way to learn about how the Academy can help you go from wasting valuable time and worrying about having regrets because you're not letting yourself be happy to feeling fulfilled and excited about what's to come, all the while using creative tools, mindset coaching, joyful planning, and accountability in an amazing community of like-minded women. So please reach out and book your free momentum call at www.talktosusie.com. Okay, that's it. In the nutshell, my focus as your regret-proof your life midlife coach is to help you waste less valuable time and get on with the good stuff. Remember, being the queen of your brain domain really is the best way to be. And it's time to stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the excitement, joy, and fulfillment that you crave. So if you'd like to see if working together is a good fit for you, either in the Academy or privately, you know what to do. Just reach out. For show notes and links, go to www.susierosenstein.com and click on the podcast tab and look for episode 424. You'll also see a link there for my other show, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, which is all about the reality of running your business when you're a midlife gal. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, and all the podcast places. Let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.